Alrighty, welcome back, everybody. Um, so last time we left off, we were talking about water and healer preset. So last time in my videos, for part two, uh, we had covered the entire loadout for the preset I'm building. We covered what I personally feel you should put into your weapons, into your movement speed, iconic powers, and we had gone over what allies to run with this preset, and we had just started on stat points. So in uh, in this video, we're gonna finish going over the stat points. Last night, this video was supposed to be put up, and I was gonna run a raid and show you how this works with the stat points that I currently have. So, just a quick recap. For stat points for this build, for this healer build, you're going to want to go with hybrid, and then you're going to want to put 20 into crit healing chance. Now this is where some of my former colleagues this is where they say that you should really differ. So I put 40 into crit healing magnitude, and honestly, I'm not sure. I honestly don't know if you really need it or not. Uh, when it comes to crit healing magnitude, but 1 second. Um. Okay, so yeah, so crit healing magnitude is the percentage increase of health restored with a critical heal. So I have 40 in that, and honestly, looking at it, we don't really do critical heals. Um, but again, with critical healing chance and a plus 20% in critical healing chance, the 80% critical healing magnitude, that'll help. So for this build, we're going to go ahead and say go ahead and put 40 into critical healing magnitude. Uh, Now, as I've stated before in my previous videos, you don't really want to put everything into resto. Um, a lot of my former colleagues, a lot of my former league mates have told me, no, don't put anything into DPS, don't put anything into precision. You know, once you get the rest of your loadout done, once you get your weapons and your movement speed and, your iconics and all that, once you get all that figured out and you put your 20 into crit healing chance, a lot of them don't even tell you to put anything into crit healing magnitude. It's not going to help you. I'm going to say otherwise because it's been helping me great, and I'll show you when we run a raid. Uh, but a lot of them are going to say just dump everything else into resto. That is helpful, yes. However, um, if you're a water healer and you're running the specific, if you're a healer overall, you're not going to be doing a lot of frontline battles. But the reason that I say you need, if you, especially if you're running hand blast, so this build specific is for hand blast, it's for water healers, for the way I built this. If you're running the build and loadout that I made, you're gonna want pulse beam, you're gonna want uppercut. And the reason for that is because even though you're not going to be doing a lot of frontline fighting, you're still going to be doing fighting. Ads are still going to come to you. The tank is not necessarily going to be able to get all of the ads off of you. So, and especially if you're running Shazam as your support ally, it's weapon attacks. So you want to be able to hold off. You want to be able to do your own thing. You want to be able to fight and not be completely uses and not be completely relied on, you know, just your heals. Because, like, yes, you're a healer, your job is to heal, but there are ways to heal perfectly and still be able to do a decent amount of damage. Um, and with this build, I'm usually either the top healer or the second top healer. You know, I'm at least in the top three. So I'm gonna say go ahead and, you know, put 100 in, put 100 into resto. Put 100 into resto, and then put 45 into precision. That'll help so far. You know, you do want to focus on resto as your main. You don't want to sit there and be like, oh, well, let me even this out, you know, let me put a point for point. No. You know, for every 10 points you put into resto, you should put a point into precision. And again, the reason why you want to put points into precision and not might and power is because though might and power is good and that will give you extra power for, you know, your heals and everything, if you're going to be fighting, you're going to want to put points into precision. Now, if you're one of those players who you've got 800 plus skill points, go ahead and put like 20 or 30 into might and power. You know, you put 1 point into power and you get plus 300 power. So, you know, it's pretty useful to put some into power, but we're going with this build. So I have 129 into resto so far. You are going to want to focus heavily on the resto, but like I said, for every 10 points into resto, you're going to want to put a point into precision. And that's just so that you can have a little bit of DPS on your side while you're focusing on your heals. Now, in the last video, I had mentioned the loadout, and I had said that you're going to run Solace of the Sea with what's that called? Riptide, and you're going to want to run Tempest Guard and Bubble. Now, the reason why you're going to want to run Tempest Guard and Bubble, that has to do with your white mods. And I didn't get to it in my last video, but we're going to go over the white mods in this video. So for your weapon slot, you're going to want to run Absorption Adapter 5. And the reason you're going to want to run Absorption Adapter 5 is because of weapon attacks give you a chance of activating a shield and reducing damage by 75% until damage equal to 30% of your health is prevented. And that occurs every 60 seconds. Now, that means anytime you're doing this, or anytime you're doing this, you know, and I'll show you, we'll go to Curse Gotham, and I'll show you what it does, for those of you that don't know. So for those of you that don't know, when you run this mod on your weapons, the shield that pops up will look like a little belt that pops up around your waist, and it'll create this digital bubble around you. That alone will provide a shield that will prevent 30% of incoming damage, and that's good. So here we are in Curse Gotham. Granted,
my beautiful porcine
I'm not
doll,
max
how I do
CR,
love your squeaks.
and so that means that, you know, right now, my resto is 21,000 away from being max for current content, and my power is 71,000 from max for current content, but that's perfectly fine. We're gonna go ahead over here and turn this into
the going rate
John
on mass
Constantine real quick.
Minus
Now, granted, oh, they're fighting that. We're not going to go over there. So, again, the white mod for your weapon you're going to want is the Absorption Adapter Mark 5. Right? So, this is, once it pops, you'll see what it looks like. Now you see how I'm taking damage because I'm not focused. We're going to go ahead and pop our bubble just to prevent any more damage. And all you really need for the ads is you just need Solace of the Sea and... Alright, now you see that digitalness? Alright, see that belt around me? That's the Absorption Adapter Mark 5. That's what you're going to pop. Alright. Now, for the rest of your white mods, it's going to be fairly simple. We're going to go ahead and take a look at that now. So, for your headpiece, you're going to want Supercharged Flood of Power, which grants 5% supercharge back to you when you use Flood of Power. This is why I said you want to use Flood of Power for your supercharge in this. You don't want to run anything else because you're going to be running that white mod. Your neck, you're going to be running Fortified Assault. And the reason why you're going to be running Fortified Assault, and by the way, all of these are going to be either Mark, for the Supercharge, it's going to be Mark 3. For most of them, though, it's going to be Mark 5 if they have a Mark 5. So for Fortified Assault, Mark 5, it increases your defense by an additional 10% while you're not blocking. So this is why you want some skill points in your weaponization skills, because while you're healing, while you're fighting, as long as you're not blocking, your defense is going up. Alright, you've got that increased 10%. Alright, now over here, and the reason I haven't used it, but again, we have Mending Wave as our L2 circle, and that's our group heal. And the reason I haven't used it yet is because, one, I'm so broken right now, I really don't need it, especially since I'm at the point where the ads in this game are essentially, children to me. I don't even really need to try. So that's going to be your neck mod. So for your back socket, we're going to run Accelerated Bubble, which increases the cooldown of bubble by 10%. And granted, a lot of people are going to be like, well, 10%, that doesn't really sound much. What if I want to run something else for my, for my back socket? And you can if you want, but just know your loadout will not work properly if you run a different back socket. You need to be running bubble. And the reason for it is because you pop bubble and, within 3 seconds, it's already a quarter of a way down. 4 or 5 seconds, boom, you've got half it down. It's really simple. For your chest socket, so this, I've gone back and forth on white mods for your chest. So, I've done... Let's go ahead and open up a chest socket right here, just in case, so we can show. So, I never ran Core Strength or Enhanced Recovery. Enhanced Recovery is blue baubles for your, supply drop, and restores more power. Oh, I'm sorry, no, defeated enemies. So, yeah, I don't even know that they don't even drop blue baubles anymore. Extended Supercharge, this is a good one, but again, with certain white, I think with Shazam or we had something, yeah, there it was, with EOG or Purple Healing Ray. Oh, nope, there it was, Scrap of Soul Cloak. So with Scrap of Soul Cloak, you've already got the better supercharge ability, and this just restores 5% of your max supercharge, but it doesn't stack. So you're not going to want to go with extended supercharge. You could go with Hardy, which increases your health by 5%, but as a healer, you're already going to have enough health, and as a healer, you're going to be doing HOEs, so you don't need Hardy. Penetrating Strikes is decent, but again, that's going to be for a DPS. That's not going to be for a healer, because again, it ignores 2% of defense and toughness. Now, this is what I ran for the longest time, was power efficiency. Superpowers use 5% less power. And for a while, I thought I was doing really well with that, but even though it said they use 5% less power, I was still, you know, sorry about that, that was an alarm. Um, you know, even with power efficiency, I was still, uh, you know, running out of power pretty fast. So you're not going to want to go with core strength either, because that gives you gain an additional 2% damage. Um, you know, so power efficiency, core strength, you really don't want. Power efficiency is good, but it's not as good as what you're going to want to run. So what you're really going to want to run is reserve tank. Now the reason why you're going to want to run reserve tank is because it increases your maximum power pool by 5%. And you may think that, oh well, it's only 5% increase in your power pool, but that extra 5% in your power pool is really going to come in handy, you know, especially since you're doing HOEs and you have a supply drop. Um, so it's just better overall. Now, uh, another artifact you're going to want to run on this preset. So in the last video, we covered Scrap of the Soul Cloak, we covered the EOG, and we covered the Perp Healing Ray. Uh, the last artifact you're going to want to run on this build before we get back to the white mods is you're going to want to run the Bottled City Soda. And the reason why you're going to want to run the Bottled City Soda is because, again, you don't want 99 sodas, extreme sodas. You really don't want 99 of those. All right, because they're one-time uses and you have to constantly keep buying them, and it's a hassle. Um, Especially if you don't want to spend your money on sodas. So I recommend Bottle City Soda. You get it does everything that a regular soda does, but with this you get the flavor of Candor and you get the Red Sun Rush. Now the Red Sun Rush does different things depending on your role. You're going to be running a healer role, so as a healer, if you run your Bottled City Soda, you're restoring 5% of max health for the whole group. Whether it's 2 people, whether it's 3 people, regardless, you're going to be running, uh, you know, that soda cooler because you're going to be getting that group effect for your whole group. Apart from getting a 90%, what was it? You get a 90% of max power to yourself, and you're healing 90% of your max health for yourself. So you're really only losing a 10% of health every time you use it, and it's very useful. Um, you know, and it's fairly, again, it only costs like 75, 80 quarks from the quark machine or from Booster Gold. Uh, we're going to take a quick intermission real quick. I have to go grab something. When I come back, though, we're going to finish talking about the white mods.
You will be cursed.
Alrighty, I've returned. Welcome back. Um, Now, before I took a brief intermission, I said we were gonna work on the. We're gonna go over the rest of the white mods. So let's go ahead and get into that. All right. So I've went ahead and covered over the from. I've went ahead and covered the white mods for your weapon, headpiece, neck piece, back piece, and chest piece. So let's go ahead and move on to your legs. So for your legs, again, because you're running Riptide, you're gonna want the white mod restorative Riptide, which when you use Riptide, as you know from my previous videos, and if you've already used it, uh, Riptide already restores the last technique you use, the last ability. So when you're using Solace of the Sea, you're going to want to immediately go into Riptide, which will allow you to put another Solace of the Sea down. Um, if you use this correctly, if you do this build correctly, you should be popping down um, a maximum of four, a maximum of four Solace of the Sea pools. Um, and then with Restorative Riptide, it will heal you anytime you use Riptide. Now, granted, it's gonna heal you, a small amount. That's fine. There are so many other heals on this build that the small amount, it'll add up eventually. It'll add up over time. Now, if this is your first time playing DC, I'm going to let you know right now, rings don't have a white socket. If you were already a veteran, you already know. So we're going to go ahead and go over to the rest. So face and shoulders, unless you're running a specific face piece like the Mask of Omnipotence or Static's Goggles, you're not going to be getting a white mod to go into your face. With current content going on, I don't recommend Static's Goggles because even if you put a good white mod on Static's Goggles, um, you know, there's just too many level differences. Again, Static's Goggles, you get that in 31st Century, and it's such old content by this point. There's no point in running it. It does cap at a level. I never got my goggles to the max cap, so I don't know what that is, but it's probably about 40 or 60 for the level. Um, Anywho, so for your hands, you're going to want to go regenerative shielding. This heals you anytime you use a shield superpower. And again, so this is why you want Bubble and Tempest Guard. Both of them are shields. So not only are you popping Bubble and Tempest Guard, which are two shields, you're getting, heals anytime you use those shields. And then obviously when you use Flood of Power, if you've used Bubble and Shield, resets them. So you're getting at most 4 shields, which means you're healing 4 times every time you use Bubble and Tempest Guard. And that right there is going to be helpful, way helpful in the long run. Waste, again, unless you have a waste piece of Omnipotence or whatever, you're not going to be having a white mod. I think it's pretty stupid at this point in the game for there to be any piece of equipment that doesn't have a white mod. But that's up to Daybreak, and that's up to the rest of the devs. They'll add that when they choose to. So we're going to go down here to feet. This is the last white mod on this build. A lot of people say, well, use Tumbling Master. You dodge more, and you're able to get out of ads and control effects quicker. I don't find that to be true. And if that works for them, that's great for them. I personally find Explosive Block to be a much better counter. It's a much better mod than Tumbling Master. And we'll go ahead and we'll open up a foot piece just so you can see. So with Foot Piece, you have dashing combos, which you need Vortex Trap, Tornado Pull, etc. You need certain swift movements in order to use dashing combos, and you're never going to use dashing combos. Uh, Deadly Block, your block counter causes an additional damage to 5% of your precision. That right there is pretty good if you're running a precision based build. Again, we're not DPS, we're not running a precision based build. So though Deadly Block is great, that's going to be on a DPS set. Now down the line I might choose to make a DPS build, but I'm not a DPS based person, especially if I'm running a healer character. So we're not going to run Deadly Block. Again, the one you're going to want to run is Explosive Block because it knocks enemies much further away and increases their helpless duration by up to 1 second. Now that doesn't really seem a lot. However, I'll show you what it does, and that'll speak for itself. So let's go find a group of ads. Here we go. Let's aggro them. And we're just gonna hold block. And see? And that's pretty much what it does right there. As we hold block, we're just gonna keep holding. And you'll see that every time, that they attack you, once they get like 3 or 4 hits on you, it's gonna blow them away. And it takes them a while to get up. Now let's go ahead and pop our bubbles. See how it gave us that heal. And you see how it gave us that crit heal. That's going to be good. That will come in handy for the long run, and that just proves that you're going to want to put 40 in your crit magnitude. Again, with crit healing chains having 20, you're getting a 20% chance for your crit heals. And the magnitude only just buffs that. So we're going to keep doing that. We're going to pop our bubble, and we're going to pop shield. That right there is going to heal us, and we'll be fine. Let's go ahead and see. So I didn't really realize how much it heals you when you run Mending Wave. So yeah, so with uppercut, that automatically gets you, you go 1, 2, and then uppercut. But, as you saw, it gives you a +5 to your hit counter. That's going to come in handy right there. So, again, we're going to come over here to the ads. We're going to let them hit us. I'm going to go ahead and get 15 on my hit counter. That way I can stack my resto with Shazam. There we go. We've got 20 on our hit counter now. So we're going to let them go ahead and hit us, and then we're going to go ahead and use Mending Wave. And so see, it doesn't do too much by its own. And there we go. There's our crit healing. So we're going to go ahead and pop that full. So that purple circle underneath our feet, the one that's spinning, that right there is the purple healing ray. That's going to go ahead and give us the heal over time, but as you can see with bubble, I'm not really taking too much damage, so we're going to let him damage me. We're going to go ahead and pop that purple healing ray, and as you can see, it's already doing heal over time. Now, the reason why you want purple healing ray is because the moment you get that heal over time, you're going to pop another bubble. And again, with purple healing ray, as you saw, it instantly returned, it refreshed my Mending Wave. That right there is going to be very useful. So again, with this loadout, especially with Shazam and especially with Oraclebot specifically, as you know, in my last video I said that I covered her ability, and her ability goes for 6 powers. Every time you use 6 powers, it refreshes, it restores 12.5% of, your power. And we'll go ahead and look at it. Yeah, 12.5% power after using 6 abilities. So, I'm going to go ahead and switch my loadout around a little bit. So what we're going to do is we're going to put Mending Wave down here to our R2 square. Because, again, as far as this build has already come, we're going to see how that different. So we're going to do Solace to the Sea, Riptide, Solace, Bubble, Shield, and then when you're ready for it, you're going to have Mending Wave down here. We're going to run that for a little bit. It's going to take some getting used to, because again, I've been running Mending Wave on my L2 circle for so long that I'm just going to automatically want to go for Mending Wave when I want to. But we're not going to we're going to run this for a little while and see how that works. And again, if you haven't subscribed, hit the like button. Please support. I'm a aspiring streamer, so all that fun stuff. And again, a lot of my other videos will have music in them in the background. I personally like to have music while I do videos like this, but this is my part 3 of my first attempt of making a build like this, so I really want to go in depth as much as possible. So that covers our white mods for the most part. We don't need these. Again, artifacts that you're going to run, just a quick recap. You're going to want Bottle City Coder. Rank 8 is its max, and it gives you 90% of power and health to yourself. As a healer, it's going to restore 5% of max health to the whole group. Now, granted, for all these roles, it's a group thing, so whether you're a tank, healer, damage, whatever, it's going to give you that, +5, +8%, whatever. So that right there is going to take place of your extreme soders. It's going to be great. Scrap of the Soul Cloak, get it to 200. You will see such a significant difference. Your green circles are going to be amazing when you get EOG and Scrap of the Soul Cloak to 200. Your supercharge is going to charge really fast. It's going to just keep going, and you're not going to waste it as much. If you're not running the Scrap of the Soul Cloak and you're running Flood of Power, you're only going to get 2 floods of power. Again, with 10,000 supercharge for Tranquil Pool, it's going to take your whole supercharge. So 5,000 supercharge is, half your bar. With Scrap of the Soul Cloak running as one of your artifacts, even though Flood of Power costs 5,000, because you have such a large supercharge ability bar, and it reduces your cooldown by almost, a quarter of an amount, and it restores 7% of max supercharge, it's a lot better. So it turns a 5,000 charge into a 2,500 charge, So instead of spending half your supercharge bar, you're spending a quarter of it, and that's just going to come back faster at that point. Then you're going to be running EOG. Get that to 200. A lot of people say you'll get the full ability, you get the full effect at 180, at 160. You don't need to go above that. That's stupid. For these 2 artifacts, there is no reason that you should not max it, because you get the extra 4% in Vite, you get the extra 4% in Dominance, you get the extra 4% in Health. You get all of that extra percentage only if you max it out, only if you get it to 180. And that's with a lot of artifacts. So with Purple Healing Ray, I'm personally going to take it to 180, and I'm going to see how it does there, because that's going to give me my +4% restoration. The rest of the effects on the Purple Healing Ray are pretty much the same. The only difference is outside of that extra +4% restoration, your Purple Healing Ray charges 4 times your total restoration. So it does drop by 1, but that just means it's gonna pop faster. So who knows? Later down the line, I might decide to max it out just to see what we've got, just to see how fast the purple healing ray is gonna go. I've been in raids and I've seen people who use purple healing ray, and they're popping a purple healing ray like every couple of seconds, and I've always wondered how. Um, that might be why. They've got it maxed out, so it's popping that fast, which is great, depending on if you need it. For now, I'm just gonna work it to 180, and we'll go from there. So those are your artifacts, those are your white mods. All of that's gonna get you to this level, and then honestly, what you're gonna need for your utility belt over here. So for current content, you're going to be running the Godling Wonderpunk Grace's utility belt. Uh, it has 4 slots, as with all current content utility belts. Um, you're going to be running a supply drop uplink. Supply drop uplinks don't really matter what kind of supply drop they are. You need at least supply drop number 1 to get at least your first supply drop. There are others out there that are better, I'm sure, than just your basic supply drop. This runs perfect for me. Um, you're gonna want an orbital. A lot of people are gonna say you don't want orbitals. However, I highly recommend you get an orbital. I highly recommend it. There are going to be times when you're going to want a little bit of extra damage, or you're going to want to stun your opponents and stun the ads. And anytime you use an orbital, it doesn't matter if it's the antimatter, it doesn't matter if it's the regular satellite uplink, whatever your orbital is. Your orbital is going to stun ads. It's going to make them do a block motion, and they're going to be stunned for at least 5 seconds. That right there is going to be useful because you can break their guard while they're being hit by their orbital. Especially if you're in a raid, you've got 8 people dropping orbitals, they're all stunned, it's just going to be amazing. Now, a lot of people say you don't really need a pet trinket. I disagree. This is just from my personal experience. I went with a father box tier 2, and the tier 2 does 5% more damage and has 50% more health than tier 1. I want to see what the tier 3 father box does, but we'll get to that later, when I get there. Uh, and again, you're going to want henchmen. So henchmen are really useful, especially when you're dealing with ads. You get 3 henchmen if you have the if you have them maxed out in your generator and in your mod interface in your base. You get 3 henchmen, which is really great because, you know, 3 henchmen, they can clear ads for you while you're over here healing. They'll go fight for you. So you get those, plus you get your father box. You got 4 henchmen right there. It's going to be great. Now, for your allies, I've already covered your support allies. These are the 2 you're going to want to run, especially with current content. Still working on her, but Nubia. If you're a healer, I personally think you're going to want to run Nubia. And the reason for that is, her combat ability is, to me, it knockbacks, damages, and potentially knocks down enemies. That's amazing. And then as a passive ability, upon a successful counter, heal for a percentage of max health. That's if you're using her passive ability. Oh, wait, no, I'm sorry. No, that's still her combat ability. So, again, her combat ability comes with a passive ability, and that's Amazonian Poultice. Upon a successful counter, heal for a percentage of max health, heal again for a percentage of health for self and teammates. So, you get 1% health for yourself, 1% health for your team. That's going to be great eventually, like over time. Um, and right now, as she is, she heals me and my nearby group members for, it looks like 10 or, it's either 10 or 16. No, that's 16. So you heal for 16% of the maximum health, and she does a plus 60% damage. Again, that's going to obviously go up as we get her closer to max affinity. So this is just one reason that I strongly suggest Nubia, especially if you're a healer, because she's not only going to be hurting your enemies, but healing you and your group while she's damaging. So that'll help. Outside of that, there's really not much to go over on this build so far. I will continue to update this build as I continue to improve and tweak. Again, we're going to see how we do with Solace and Tranquil Pool, or not Tranquil Pool, Solace and Riptide. We're going to do Shield and Bubble like that, and then we're going to save Mending Wave for R2 square. So we're going to put that, that's going to be right next to Word of Power. And when you eventually want to use Word of Power, I recommend you wait till you have a full bar of supercharge. If you use it when you just have one ready, you know, it's not that effective. You're gonna find it a lot harder to get your supercharge up if you're just standing there using it as soon as you've got it. If you say, oh, my flood of power is ready, let's go ahead and use that. Don't do that right away. Wait until you're supercharged. If you do this build correctly, you will not need to use your supercharge on site. You can wait. All right? It is not necessary to use your supercharge, especially around a lot of ads. You're going to want to wait, and you're going to want to save it. So that's pretty much it for the stats, for the traits, and for the allies and the artifacts. I hope it was very useful. Hope it was information, educational. Again, this is just the way that I built my healer. This is not the way that everyone is going to build their healer, and I'm still tweaking my tune. As I stated, I only have 251 skill points, and that's divided up the way you see it. So I've already got 60 spent right here, technically 61 with these. I've got 45 in precision, which you're going to want to run 45 in precision. That way you can at least do a little bit of damage and knock back some ads, and you're not completely useless, and you can fight on your own. Again, this is strictly for this build. A lot of other healers are going to say, well, this is not how I would do it. They can do it their way. If you want to run a non-meta build, I mean that. This build is not meta. It will not be what the current meta healer is. It's unorthodox, but it pays off. It really pays off. My brother, he'll be in one of my later videos, but he's able to dish out, almost 80 million damage, and this build out is able to allow me to fight him in a PvP match, and we're able to go for an hour or 2 hours, and my heals can carry me through that alone. And because I have 45 in weapon precision, in you know, I'm able to do a little bit of damage on my own. Then I drop my ads and I'm actually able to hurt him. So, again, this is my healer build. Uh, I'll update as I tweak, you know. I'll make another video down the line. We'll see what happens. And yeah, just hit that subscribe, hit that like. Let me know how if you try this build. Feel free to put comments on my video. Feel free to send me a message on YouTube or whatever, and let me know what you think. If it doesn't work for you, that's fine. If it works for you, great. I'm glad I could help. Outside of that, have a wonderful day.